And then we'll go to Jim.
Great. Are we good? Good. Yeah, I mean, good morning or good afternoon, how you want. What can I tell you more after that season? But first and foremost, I want to thank everybody. Foremost, of course, our coaches, our front office, everybody who was involved in that big success, and ownership, and above all, our fans. I mean, it was really overwhelming to see how many people were following us to New York, for instance, and it was extremely pleasant to have a couple of thousand guys from Philadelphia in LA. I need to say I'm very thankful about that, and that shows. At the same time, what we have been achieving in a season where we started with the usual adversities in preseason, visa issues as usual, and we know about that already. And but despite we had a good season start, and we're winning after the draw the first couple of games, and then we had a little bit of struggle, and it felt basically like struggling when you tie 8 times and part of you played well and tied, part of you didn't play that good and tied, and by the way, we won a couple of games as well between April and early July. But what we showed afterwards was, I would say, outstanding. It was fantastic games in front of a fantastic crowd. In particular, our home games with wins with more than 5 goals difference. That's something we didn't know so far in that season, and we could luckily carry that over in our playoffs and win both home games. And we you know all how it ended then, and we got already a little bit the smell of how it feels when you're winning an MLS Cup, but it should not have been the case, and we were highly unlucky. But everybody saw what kind of team we had, what kind of mentality we had inside our team, and what we have been able to do. And by the way, it's not that easy to play in LA against a very good team who was even improved in summer significantly. And we had them almost at the edge of a defeat. You know all the records. I don't need to speak about that. We achieved over the course of the season. You know how many goals we scored, how many goals we got, and how many players we had in the best 11, and a couple of other significant rewards we earned. Let me close that statement with that. I mean, this season is really hard to top. You can probably only top it if you win MLS Cup. And that's what we probably need to go for next season again. Thank you.
Good. Yeah, just to reiterate Ernst's words, you know, first and foremost, and most importantly, a huge thank you to our fans, the Philadelphia Union fans. You know, in this city, the game of soccer, the Philadelphia Union continues to grow at a rate that you know, I never thought I'd see in my lifetime. So big thank you to them. Like Ernst said, traveling on the road, making the atmospheres feel like home games in DC, you know, at Nashville in their home opener. Great memories from the season. A lot of real high moments. The season only ends perfect for one team. I say that all the time to the guys, so we still have motivation to next year to make it perfect. But again, from the Sons of Ben, the Keystone State Ultras, all the fans that we picked up along the way of this journey that we went on this season, I think we really connected with the city. I think we gained a ton of new fans. You know, the job that our marketing department does in growing the game and growing this team in the city and being more visible has been amazing. And I'm really proud of that, maybe more than the wins and losses, to be honest. So that's a testament to the work that's been done here at the club. I'd also like to thank our owners, Jay Sugarman, Richard Leibovich, Richie Graham, the investments that they made in this team this season. Some that you guys see because they're on the field. Others you maybe don't see, like the amazing playing surface that we have that Ernst found some new crazy I'm not a grass expert, but some new crazy hybrid of grass that every team that comes here is not used to the speed of it and how quick it is. And you can see, and not to say it's just that because our players play a big role in it, but that little innovation, that little advantage that we gained from that and that big investment from ownership, which is over $1 million, was big to our team. If you look at our record and the goals that we scored when that field was put in, I don't think it's a coincidence. And then you have players coming in here and saying, wow, that surface is amazing and wish we had it, So maybe some things that fly under the radar that ownership investing in things like the second team, the investment that we make in the academy is greater than any club in this country, and that's why we have the best youth academy. So the work that Tommy Wilson did, Marlon with the second team, my staff, incredible work from, Ryan Richter in his first year, an amazing coach that took a huge step forward and led a team to an MLS Cup final. Frank Leicht, who's been excellent with our players, developing them, making them better, not just doing the restarts, but doing the sessions day in and day out. Phil Wedden and the work that he does as a head coach and also as a leader of our goalkeepers. Tremendous work there. Garrison Draper taking over the whole sports department. Incredible work keeping the guys healthy, keeping them going. Guys like Josh Gross and Danny Nolan and Brandon Comiskey, who behind the scenes you guys don't see, but day in and day out bleed for this club, do everything for this club, and make us proud. So, again, big thank you to everyone from the scouts in our academy to the data people. It's a real team effort, and I wish I could name everybody up here, but we'd be up here for an hour. So, again, big thank you. A great season, a very memorable season. And, again, I do believe this club takes steps every year. And it's almost destiny now that we have a chip on our shoulder and we push for that final goal next year. I think we won our first trophy with the Supporters Shield. We had the setback of a heartbreaking loss in the Eastern Conference Final with COVID. We had the thrill of a win in an Eastern Conference Final. We got a taste of our first MLS Cup. I don't think we disappointed in that game because it's probably one of the more memorable games of all time. But still, we're competitors and we want to win and we want to give our fans that final trophy. And the guy next to me will do everything for it, and so will I. And we won't rest this offseason. We won't get complacent, and we'll continue to get better.
Questions in the room?
What's given the turnover this offseason? We know there's one already, another potentially coming soon, and maybe more. What's on the shopping list at this point?
Well, we need to do something, obviously, yeah. And we are ahead of a very challenging season, playing in 4 different competitions next year. Part of they are overlapping, and then you face some international competition with our national teams in addition. So we are going to have a player pool consisting out of probably 27, 28 players. That's how we react, and if you know our numbers right now, so we are forced to add some bodies.
Where do you think? What position do you think?
Yeah, we are going to sign a centre back, that's clear. We are going to sign probably an additional midfielder, and then we are probably to sign somebody for attack as well.
Jim, with a little bit, and Ferns too, with a little bit of time after that sting of how it ended in LA, has that changed anything in the way that you appraise what this team has done and what this season has meant? Once that, I don't know if fades is the right word. I don't know if it ever fades.
Yeah.
Has it changed at all?
No, look, I think in sports, obviously the media and players and coaches, we feel the playoffs and we know that they're the ultimate goal. But you still have to look at an entire season. Over 34 games, I think we checked a lot of boxes of improving. We saw players get better. We saw the goals we scored. We saw how we defended as a team. I'm not going to say playoffs are random, because they're not random. I think the best teams get there, but you're always at the whim of a good break, a bad call, a little bit of luck, and they can be defining moments that go in your favor for sure, and they can be some defining moments that go against you. So when you look back at the game, and I won't probably rewatch the game. It's one that I usually watch. The game's 10 times over and over, but that's one I won't revisit because it's in my brain. I remember the plays. I remember the key moments. So again, it hurts because that group of players, I think, showed tremendous heart. And the one thing that maybe in the commotion and the greatness of the game and the hype and the intensity of it and the entertainment of it, that gets kind of almost got lost and wasn't really talked about much, is we played the game without one of our best players and our captain. I think that almost gets forgotten. You take Carlos Vela off LAFC, or you take a captain off of some of these other teams, they hurt a lot. And look, we hurt without Ali, but to do what we did and compete the way we did, I can't really be mad at the guys. And I'm sure the next question is, I've played in 4 finals now and I haven't won one. And that's going to be, I'll do it for you guys. And each final, though, I would say has, different key moments. It has home and away. It has little things that go well. And I'll take an F versus Houston. I'll take an F for that one. But the others, I look at the game and I go, for where we were as a club, who we had on the field, who we competed against, how hard the guys gave effort, I can't really fault them in that. And I'm a big believer that, again, the questions are going to be until you win one, that they're gonna always be in the background. But I'm really proud of what the group put into the game. I think they gave everything. Are there little things you think about, like if we had to burn our final sub when Corey came off the field with the injury and he tried to gut through it, and maybe he has a broken leg, possibly. He's maybe a big injury. So we make that sub, and now we've used all 3 of our moments. So was there something that we maybe could have done if he's able to stay on? You could have tweaked maybe the back line and gotten a little defensive when you go up goal. You think about those things for sure. I'm a human being, so you always have some hindsight, but. If you talk about the effort, what the guys put on the field, and look, being in that locker room afterwards, the guys will remember that forever. It's still a great accomplishment, but there's no moral victories in this game. If we win MLS Cup, your guys' next questions are going to be, but can they win Champions League? So that's the cool thing about the game. It never stops. There's always a next level to go to, and there's no perfect team. So we think we have a good club that's moving in the right direction, and really proud of the season that we had.
Even though you've hit some of the highest of heights in the league. You mentioned there's now 4 competitions in front of you. Realistically, how do you kind of set the goals out now for 23 with everything in front of you? Do you prioritize certain things, or do you kind of just bank on the experience you guys had first time through Champions League 2 years ago to at least help you balance that start?
Well, Ernst and I have been discussing this already, the second the final whistle goes in an MLS Cup, because there are a lot of trophies on the line next year. We're a club that wants to win everything. We're as competitive, 2 competitive guys that want to be in every competition. And to prioritize, look, I think you guys know MLS Cup is still, that's the ultimate in our sport. I think it will remain that way. Champions League is an incredible competition. The Open Cup has a lot of love from me and just history that I respect that trophy as well. So we're going to go for every trophy. Do we have to, like Ernst mentioned, add a few pieces and strengthen the depth of the squad, maybe rotate more and you find different ways to do that? Yes, because we're going to have, what do you think, 50 plus games maybe next season, which is really busy. So yes, we're discussing that on a daily basis. It's real. It's going to be hard. It's going to be a grind. But again, those guys in the locker room, these players, step up and amaze us each time. So we'll be ready for it.
You mentioned Corey a moment ago. He's already penned his farewell. We've seen all the reports that are out there, but we also know that there are multiple guys who are with the reserve team this year who are on the cusp of breaking through. Nelson Pierre and Marcos Zambrano in particular. You think we'll see either of them with the senior team next year?
I mean, this is basically our DNA. We want to develop players, and you better develop young players into what we can sell maybe later on, and that's you saw the successful example with Paxton now, and that's our DNA. Yeah, and that's how we go forward, and that's what we are working for.
To that end, with Paxton, he obviously makes a big move. He's had maybe a little bit of a different journey than Brendan did, in the sense that he hasn't maybe established himself in MLS to the degree that Brendan did before he made that move. What was that process like of assessing what he's capable of, even though maybe we haven't seen a ton of that here, to prepare him for that move?
Yeah, he is a player who was really incredibly working, and he is a little bit unlucky, as if you have a guy on the position you are best, who is scoring 20 plus goals in a season and in the discussion for MVP. It's not that easy, but every time he went on, he was really good. And we, there are clubs who are focusing on young talent who they can develop further on. And Frankfurt, I mean, the first discussion started already last year, and they were following him. They were even over here following him, and they know about the potential. And I mean, the fact that he has a brother playing now in the Premier League, doing real good strides over there, that might help as well to foresee his future. And it's early for him, but at the same time, I'm happy that he's taking that challenge. And Frankfurt is a good club, is a good place with excellent coaches, and he has some time to adapt now over winter, spring, and then doing a good preseason, and hopefully getting a starting 11 place then.
Yeah, and look, Ernst is too humbled to say this, but I'll add, we've reached a point now where, I think the environment that Ernst has created here and developed, and his connections overseas obviously play a big role, but big clubs are camping up to watch us train now, to watch us practice, and they're pointing and they're saying, this kid's good, I like that one, I like this one, and this is, it's almost it's two things. It's great for the U.S., but it's also a message for everybody in youth development to believe in young American kids, because we have good players, and Paxton's an example, so is Mark, and so is Brendan, and the list grows. Austin Trusty now doing well overseas. So there's good players here. I think Europe is getting wiser to that, and literally, Paxton had some games for sure, and he deserves everything he got, but they can see the talent in a training session now, and I'll just say there's not going to be less of them coming over here to watch. So we have to it's twofold: guard our assets for sure, develop young players, and sometimes it's create a good environment like we've created here, and maybe get the hell out of the way and let the kids go, because there's that much talent here, and we believe in them, and we'll continue to believe in young players.
And on Paxton specifically, I know there's no loan back in the original deal, but I take it the door would ever be open if something doesn't go right with Frankfurt to come back. Is that something that's been discussed at all, or is that?
Listen, we are always in good discussions with them, and out of my contacts over to coaching staff and everybody there, I always can discuss that. Yeah, but we don't think about things like that. He should now more or less do his integration over there, try to get as much playing time as possible. I mean, they have also a situation where they are still in the Cup, they are still in the Champions League. They have almost 20 league games left, so it's gonna be busy. Yeah, and their roster is not that big that he would not have a chance on an offensive position. Yeah, so I think it's a good move for him and for Philadelphia, hopefully as well.
On the topic of some of the other young guys that are still here, Jack, you've played, you've Brendan, who make that next step, you hope, next year. With Quinn specifically, how do you kind of find that spot? Because Daniel's playing so well at 10, you have Ale and Leon on the sides, and Jack's playing, at least fills that part of the depth chart too. What do you find, or how do you kind of find time for Quinn, and then with Brendan at center back? Now you said you mentioned going after another center back for depth, but how do you kind of integrate those two guys more into the 11 as the season goes on, kind of like Jack this year?
Yeah, look, Quinn first, in a way, obviously everyone judges things based on minutes played, right? But I still think he took a huge step in his development. You watch him train, he's the first guy in, he works so hard in the weight room, he's doing everything that we ask of him, and we have to find ways, and I have to find ways to get him on the field more. His best qualities are closer to the goal, I think. He's probably strikes the ball as well as anyone on our team. He finishes plays off in training consistently. So we have to find a way to be creative in getting him closer to goal in certain ways. And that might mean, and we've discussed this, Ernst and I, that having a little more tactical flexibility and playing maybe a 3-5-2 or a 3-4-3, whatever you want to call it, to get guys on the field that suit them. And that kind of leads into Jack McGlynn as well. He's a guy that, is he perfect for the left side of the diamond? It's probably, and he would tell you, that's not his perfect position. He does a damn good job at it, but him going out to the sidelines to defend in space is not something he enjoys. You know what I mean? That's not playing to his skill set. His skill set is to get on the ball, to break lines and different things. So that would require also maybe playing with 2 6s and having him get on the ball a little more and being a little more tactically flexible there. So those are 2 top talents. I think 2 guys that are going to be the next to go to Europe and play. Craig is another one who would benefit from maybe a 3-back system and getting more minutes, because sometimes the guys in front of you are just damn good, and that happens in soccer. It's happened to Matt Real at left back. Jose's done a great job at the 6. You have center backs that are playing well that take up a lot of the minutes. So maybe that tactical flexibility is what gets guys more minutes and gets them going, and maybe even is better for them on the field, if that makes any sense to you guys.
Where do you figure out his playing time and that, making sure that he's not overworking himself and getting hurt again, but also contributing at the right times, the right games?
Yeah, I think, look, we're going to have 55 games next year. So to ask anyone to play every minute is going to be almost impossible. Again, we do a great job keeping our guys fit and on the field, but that's a big ask. And it's look, they do that in Europe for sure, but they don't have the heat, the travel, the different things that we have. So it's going to add up, and it's going to be quite a load. So with Ali, I know how he's going to approach the offseason. He's going to come in, and he'll be sharp, he'll be fit, and he's going to still play his minutes, and he's going to be a top player for us. I don't expect anything less, but are there going to be certain moments where it goes Saturday, Wednesday, Saturday, LA to in Miami to then back to Seattle? That's going to happen for sure at some point, and we're going to have to really think about not just the older guys, but all the guys, because you need freshness on the field to play how we'd like to play. So it's not just a one guy thing, you know what I mean? So, and again, Ali has a way of getting fit and staying healthy. This last little injury is probably the first real muscle injury he's had in his career. So we have to be smart, but also he's one of the least guys I worry about.
You mentioned Ernst a moment ago, and I'll ask you too. Are there guys on you two who you're looking at who you think are ready for the jump?
Yeah, look, the jump is big. Like, let's be honest, the jump is a big jump. But I think we have guys that have trained with us, and we'll take a big group down to Clearwater this preseason, and the players that attack the offseason the right way and come in fit, and this is always the case. There's certain ones come in fit and ready and impress. There's going to be, I hate saying it, but there's going to be some that come in out of shape and let themselves down and let the team down. And they can get left in the dust, and it can happen quick. So those guys will get a chance to show. And yes, they're just preseason games, but for us, the way we look at it, they're competing for jobs. They're competing for their livelihood every day. And it sounds cruel, but Ernst's job is to try to find better ones to replace them every minute of every day. And that is something that in pro sports a lot of people don't understand and don't get. It can be really cruel. It can be cutthroat, but that's the way good teams get better. And that's Ernst's job. That's my job each and every day to try to make the team better. And that sounds mean sometimes, and it's harsh to hear, but that's the reality thing. So whoever comes in fit, there's certainly you two guys will be getting chances in preseason with us. Some that are signed already, some that aren't signed yet, and they'll get opportunities to train with us as well from the academy.
For both of you guys, you were able this year to, I think, play some different ways out of the same stock formation.
Yeah.
How much is staying with that as the default, the plan going forward, and do you see some room to maybe make some of those adjustments? You talked about the 3-back, maybe a 4-2-2-2. Is that kind of on the radar as a next step for what you guys have built with this formation?
I think it has to be, because everybody scouts. Everyone, is going to break down that we're one of the only teams that plays with 2 strikers. They're going to say we're one of the few teams that play with a diamond. But I've become a big believer in a very smart person has taught me that, whether you play 3 in the back, whether you play 4 in the back, it's that defensive line that dictates what the 6 in front or the 7 in front do. And if you have good principles and your pressing cues are on the same page and you're playing to the opponent's weakness, it's as simple as that. If that back 4 moves together and squeezes space and controls space, it doesn't matter what position they're in. I hate to say that, but it really doesn't. It doesn't matter what the formation is. You guys can call it whatever you want, but if they're on the same page getting pressure to the ball, which is what Ernst's philosophy is all based on, what you guys call it in the schematic when when Erica sends out the pregame thing, doesn't really matter as long as we're on the same page and we're doing it. And that back four or back three is controlling the space, and there's good pressure to the ball. We can defend really well as a team, and I think you guys see that. So again, answer your question: would we be pretty stupid to completely throw out the 4-4-2 diamond right now after the season we had? I think so. So we're not going to abandon it, but we do have to get a little more flexible because teams adapt and adjust, and maybe some copy, and do what we do right against us.
And adding on that, we will have situations very likely next season where it will be required to do some changes.
Is it mostly a mentality thing, do you think? That I know when Ernie was here, he talked about building up the tolerance of players to work in different ways. Is it now a system that you guys have the principles in, and it's now just, it's one step off, it's this?
The principles will not change, and that's the good news. The formations might change sometimes if you do a different team tactics. So it could be, when you are, like Jim mentioned before, when you are traveling from Seattle to whatever, Miami, and you play on 2 days rest, you might need to change a little bit the way you approach that game, and that's where flexibility helps you.
You mentioned in all of this, you mentioned at the start of this potentially going to sign a center back this offseason. How many center backs do you think a squad needs to have total to be able to play a 3-4-3 or whatever, a 3-back system safely and have the depth on a game day to do it?
I mean, we will go in the season with 4 center backs. That's clear. But we have, in addition, guys who could easily step in and play a left center back, for instance, if you talk about Montreal, in addition. So that gives us a lot of flexibility. And it's not very different on the right side. We have Nathan Harrell played a center back in his youth, or in the second team a couple of times. So we have that flexibility.
And as an old center back, I'll say you can never have enough because, as the example, think of the final. Think of what LAFC had at center back. Not to mention the kid Fall that went out on loan. It was a top center back, and Ibiaga steps in as the 4th or 5th and plays a solid game for them. So you can't have enough good ones because it's an important position. It really matters.
You guys are going to have one former in Brendan and one current in Olivier Bizo at the World Cup. What does that mean to see, obviously, someone who's been in the spotlight increasingly more in the Premier League that was with the club, but also someone who's with the club being on the World Cup stage and showcasing the Philadelphia Union, what it can develop, and also what it has at the moment.
Yeah, look, all the bad things that went on to get the World Cup where it is aside, taking that away, it's the biggest competition that we have in our game. So for those guys to be there, the story of the Philadelphia Union badge, and where those guys came from and their humble beginnings. People forget Olivier's been here a while and worked really hard to get where he is and play at the level that he is and fulfill his dream of playing in a World Cup. So it's the ultimate. It's the highest level that we have. It's the biggest competition in the world, despite what us, the silly Americans, I better be careful here. Despite what we think about the Super Bowl, it's not even a comparison how big that the competition is. So for Olivier to be there, hopefully playing for Cameroon and getting on the field and getting a taste of that, representing his country, it's perfect. It's amazing. I'm really proud of him, and that this badge will get brought up no matter whether it's in French, whether it's in whatever language. It's going to be Philadelphia Union, and it's going to be the same for Brendan. He's not only turned into a good player on our national team. He's kind of the key player. To watch him play, Ernst and I were joking against Liverpool. You could tell by Klopp's body language every time Brendan did something that I wouldn't be shocked, that he's interested in that kid after the way he played against him. So his rise has been incredible. What little role we played in helping it is special, but to see him at the World Cup, I think will put everyone in Philadelphia should have a smile on their face. Certainly in the Union, in the school, the YSC school. I think everybody will be really happy to see that take place.
I guess this is mainly for Ernst. When we sat here after the 2015 season, we talked about in that U.S. Open Cup final, the disparities of who came off the bench for Seattle and who came off the bench for the Union, and that we have a MLS Cup final where they bring off Gareth Bale as their last sub, and you guys bring off Chris Donovan. Is that something that you ever foresee, that gap, something that you think is ever going to be bridged, or how do you kind of, if not, how do you get around that in the way that this roster is built?
Listen, I mean, Chris Donovan, we signed Chris Donovan a year ago not even a year ago, for the second team. And he did tremendous strides there. So we decided to sign him for the first team afterwards. Yeah. And to do that comparison is almost a little bit unfair. Yeah. I mean, certainly a player like Bale, he should play from the beginning. Yeah. The question is why is he coming from the bench? So, and we will always trust in our young guys. Like I said before, this is player development is our overarching topic. That's our DNA. And once we stop that, we will go down, definitely, because that's exactly what we are doing different. That's where we separate ourselves. And by the way, if you look at the figures, yeah, we sold players over the last couple of seasons for roughly 20 million, a little bit more than 20 million US dollars. Yeah? And that helps to establish that credo, that philosophy, and the credibility we are having.
You guys already signed 2 guys with an eye on 2023, Richard and Avasa. I know that it took a while for them to get here and kind of get integrated, but what do you see with the 2 of them, because you're going to need a lot of squad depth? How do you see them fitting into the plans in 23?
Listen, we signed him clearly for the next season, because there was an opportunity that we can get them over. We knew that it will take us quite some time. It took really long with Abasa, and there is something where we need to find out in addition. Yeah. But I tell you, it's unfair to evaluate somebody right now. They need to do a pre-season. We talked to them. We gave them the right advice how they should approach that, and they are good boys. That's it, and they will get their chances. And I think that in particular, Richard showed already in these very few games in the second team and against the Mexican team what he's capable to do.
Who do you see as being Daniel's backup? Obviously, going into next year, whether that be a signing, whether that be somebody you already have, it was Paxton this year in a way, and that specific profile of attacking midfielder who can shoot quite a bit is one where it's a little short right now.
Yeah, that's what Jimmy was talking about before. I mean, why shouldn't Quinny be the person who is doing that? Yeah. There is a little bit of difference in age. He's a year younger than Paxton, but he's a little bit taller instead of that. Huh?
In terms of outside backs, it's possible that, obviously we've talked so much about how Kai has attracted attention, Olivier is going to be on a big stage. If you go into next season with Nathan, Anton, and Matt Real as your outside backs, is that sufficient? Does that need a signing if one of those other guys leaves? How do you kind of do that?
We will replace positionally if we lose guys.
What do you make, Jimmy? The fourth competition is the Leagues Cup.
Yeah.
What do you make?
It's new. I think it'll be exciting. I'm excited for it. I think that, it's no secret that you're trying to tap into the natural rivalries that exist between the U.S. and League MX. That's natural. It's a league I like a lot, a league I like to watch, and to compete against them will be fun. If the Union plays against Tijuana or whoever it is, I think that's an exciting thing for our fans. I think it's cool. I think it's an opportunity for us to show that we have a really strong league, a league that has gotten better incrementally each year. And I think all rivalries are healthy, and I think you're trying to create that. I think there's probably, obviously, marketing and off-the-field things and a package I'm sure Apple will put together, like all these things play into it as well. And I see the financial side, and I think it's going to be a great competition, a healthy one that only grows the game. Will it be demanding on the players? No question about it. It's a lot. But I like that we try new things as a league to grow and get better rather than getting just complacent. Yeah, I've been around the league for a long time when there was only 10 teams, and to see it now at heading towards 30 is something that's special. And I think along that way, you have to try new competitions to grab new fans and tap into different markets. And I think this is a healthy way to try and do that.
When does the prep for Alianza start?
Already started, yeah. We have some good tape on their games. They have a good team, good players. For those that have never gone down to El Salvador, that is no easy task. The fire alarms will be pulled at 2 in the morning, and they'll be surrounding the bus, and a lot of fireworks will be going off. So they have passionate fans, great team, great history, and they'll want to beat us. There's no question about it, because again, MLS is also an attractive league for these teams in these countries. The guys that play in those games now want to be in MLS, and that's certainly a battle cry that we'll use in the locker room. These guys want your jobs. They want to be playing here in this league now, and that's a really hard thing for our kids sometimes to wrap their head around, that we have it good here, and they want it. And so that's something that we'll use as motivation, but that will be a really tough task. There's no easy games in the Champions League. They're a great club with a really storied history, and yeah, I expect a really tough competition.
Any other questions in the room? All right, I think we have time for one on Zoom, and then we will wrap it up for the season.
We're going to go to Tom Bogart on Zoom.
Thanks for taking the time, guys. Sorry, a little technical difficulty there. Took a second. I know that you guys have talked at length about a lot of different topics. I just kind of wanted to ask specifically about Paxton and kind of where the talks went with Frankfurt and why this was the right opportunity for him and why it was the right deal for the club.
Yeah, basically, you are an expert in the German Bundesliga anyway, Tom. So you know how Frankfurt is playing. You know whom is coaching them, and they have 2 offensive midfielder positions in their team. So all preconditions are basically fulfilled.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Jim. Thank you, Ernst.
Thank you.
Guys
Thank
here
you.
on Zoom, and see everyone in 2023.